Hi, my name's Neil Creswell. I'm with the Microbrand Store and also the Kickstarter Watches and Horology Microbrands group on Facebook. And today we received our first shipment of Meccaniche Veneziane Nereide GMT watches. And I thought I'd do something that's probably going to be helpful for a few people. There were some concerns about the movement because initially it was going to be a top grade ETA movement. And then on the Kickstarter campaign, it was advertised as a movement that was kind of regulated to within top grade specifications that actually is in an a labore grade. And then later on, they found they couldn't get enough ETA movements and they switched to the Sellita SW300-1, which is actually a cheaper movement. I know they said it's more expensive, but my opinion and the opinion of all the other creators and people who buy these movements are that it's generally cheaper, unless they were getting some really old movements or something like that. So we have 4 watches here, the first 4 watches that have arrived. Obviously, plenty of people have these Timegraphers so they can test watches, but I just thought it's going to be useful if you get a single watch and you're buying it as a consumer, a customer, a backer on Kickstarter. If you did have an issue with your watch, would that be the odd one out, or would it be the norm, even if you found other people with issues? So by having a batch of these watches, I've not even tested this. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I'm going to be able to test 4 of these watches. I have 2 of them are they're all Nereide GMT watches with a Sellita SW300 movement in, and 2 of them are the San Marcos with the kind of Venice colors on them, or you could call them kind of a root beer, I guess. And then the other 2 are the Diaspro Classicos, which have a kind of a Pepsi style bezel. Now these don't look great because they've got protective covers on them. There are other tests that I would do anyway. I'd wind them, set all the positions, make sure everything lines up, the usual kind of stuff. But all these watches are fully wound because you need to test fully wound. I've changed the lift angle to 51 degrees, which is the correct lift angle for a Sellita SW300. And this one's been sitting here for a minute or so, so it should be stable by now. So let's actually start some testing. And I have not seen this, and I'm going to be kind of curious to see how it turns out. I would expect a beat error 0.1 for a new watch. Obviously, when you have a watch wire gets banged around, things get moved a little bit in places they shouldn't be, then it can be different. 0.2 is okay, kind of okay up to 0.5. But for a new watch, I would expect 0.1 would be where I'd want to set it. But it has been shipped from Switzerland to Meccaniche Veneziane in Italy, and then from there to the Microbrand Store, and then obviously from here it goes out to consumers. So 28,800 beats per second, that's correct. I'm not seeing the graph all over the place. 0.2 milliseconds, could have liked 0.1, but that's fine. 0 or 0.1 plus 5 seconds a day. So you can argue whether that's top grade specs or not. I haven't even bothered looking at what if there's a top grade spec difference between different movements. Amplitude 256 on a new watch. That is something that I do not like. I'm not sure. Not being a watchsmith myself, I'm just a watch retailer. I would have expected to see 285 to 315 degrees amplitude in a healthy watch. An older watch would be like slightly lower potentially, but that means that you haven't got the full oscillation. So this is subpar, I think, and I'll let people discuss that in Facebook groups who are experts and leave it to everyone else. I'm just literally going to go and test these watches. I'm not going to try all the different positions because this video will take too long. I'm just trying it in the top position. So we've got a fairly consistent plus 7 seconds a day. 260 degrees amplitude, which bothers me, and 0.2 milliseconds, which isn't bad. It's not what I would have wanted, but it's okay. You have to accept the fact it's been shipped. You didn't just walk into a store and buy it, so things can get knocked around a little bit. On a new watch, I would have liked 0.1, especially one that's been tuned and tested for 48 hours, as their claims are, and assembled by an expert. But that could be a shipping issue. Let's find out on the next watch. I see we're down to 6 seconds here. So we could call this 6 seconds or 7 seconds. It is varying. It's retesting every 12 seconds here. So I'm going to pause this test and we're going to switch to the next watch. I'm doing this through the camera a little bit, so please forgive me if there's a few bumps along the way. And I know you're supposed to, you take them out, test them better. I'm not going to open these up. These are for customers. So I really, I'll take the covers off. I'll make sure the bezel rotates properly. I'll set the hands into all the positions over a 24-hour period, wind it, try all the set positions. But I'm not going to be opening any of these watches. If there's an issue, it goes straight back to Meccaniche Veneziane. So I'm going to start this. It hasn't really been given enough time to settle, so we could have a high rate here. This is +3, +2. That's excellent. Look at that, 0.1 milliseconds, exactly why I would expect to see this. I notice also the amplitude is low on this. I was mentioning 285 to 315 being my normal range I would expect. I now need to go and investigate whether the SW300 has a lower amplitude. I think I have the right lift angle. So let's just stop this and switch lift angles again. Make sure it's still 51 degrees. So off we go. So this watch is actually, apart from the amplitude, which does bother me on a new watch, +2, I think, was it +2, +3 previously? Had a little bit of wiggle when I first started it. I probably bumped it a little bit. 0.1 milliseconds. The rate is excellent. That's as good as cost grade. So love that. So this is a good plus for Meccaniche Veneziane. Beat error is a good plus. So the only question I've got so far, 2 out of 4 watches, is we have a persistently lower amplitude than I would expect. But again, just to reiterate, I'm not an expert. So I'm going to stop this at the moment and switch to the next watch. And we'll get this one in here. I'm doing this through the camera, so sorry if it's a little bit clumsy. Let's push this down out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to start this again. It needs to settle. I've only just put it in. Oh, wow. Oh, that's interesting. I thought it was 0 seconds for a second. It's settling down. You normally leave it a minute or so, but I'm trying to get through this fairly quickly for you guys. It's obviously going to be a low issue, not a high one. Again, we're not trying all the different positions. I can pull this down and I can turn it on its side and try it in all the different positions. We're just trying one position. But this is like -1 second a day. That's not bad. That's really nice. 0.2 millisecond beat error. Again, I'll be looking for 0, 0.1. I guess their tolerance they've done it to is 0.2. That's okay. Anyway, 2-second rates. So the rates on 2 of these are within cost grade, which is even better. Top grade, cost grade specs. The first one was 7 milliseconds, but this is doing really well. 1 second, -1, -2, that kind of range. Again, that amplitude is also very low, 254 degrees amplitude. So that is something that I think definitely is worthy of discussion. But we have 2 watches with excellent accuracy, and the beat error is just kind of the difference when you've got the beat, how far on one side versus how far on the other. I guess I'm going to use the wrong terminology, but you basically probably got a ruby or something holding that in place, and it's not exactly centered. So it's to do with centering can get knocked out of a position a little bit. But this -1 second, the accuracy of this, I would be happy with this watch myself, except I'm going for one of these San Marcos. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. The only thing is, again, the amplitude. So on to the last watch. And we'll see what we get here. Oops, here we go. That should just settle down in a little bit and get this started early. Now another low amplitude, 248 degrees. Now I have tested plenty of watches with the covers on, doing it this way in this position. I'm wearing an old Boulder one here. I tend to sleep with this one a lot at night. It's nighttime here, so I could actually put this on here just to give you a comp, and you'll see. Probably I'm going to have a high beat error on this because I've done all kinds of stuff on this over the last year and really banged it around. But it should have a much better amplitude. So 264, all of these amplitudes are not where I would want them to be, 285 plus. This is plus 6 seconds fairly consistently. So we have one watch that was plus 7, one plus 6, and the other two are like one of them was like minus 1 second, and the other one was like 4 seconds, if I remember right. So two of the watches are extremely good, and they're all within a 7-second range. The 0.1 beat error is great. That's often where people get it to when they've finished servicing a watch. So, 0.2 I guess is okay. I'm not going to complain about that. So it's just the amplitude I have an issue with, I guess. So I will try one last watch, which isn't even one of these, just so we can get a comp. It's tempting for me to just grab one of my... You know what? I'm gonna go grab a Christopher Ward GMT watch, and I've had this probably, I don't know, 2 years now, and it's not wound, so I'm just gonna have to wind it up. So this will be an interesting quick comp, just so we can see. And I've not even run this on the Timegrapher, so I'm very curious about this. So you really need to fully wind it. This uses an ETA movement, and generally speaking, the first year I tested it quite a bit, not with a Timegrapher, but using other methods. And I was finding it was like plus 1 second, which I was really happy with because it's just an Elabore grade. But they obviously regulate these as well at Christopher Ward to get that kind of a timing on it. So I was extremely happy. I picked this up. I think it was through eBay, like $700, something like that. When I've got the old Christopher Ward logo London on it, which, by the way, I'm from London, so I kind of like that a lot. And I really, yeah, you're going to hear it from me, you Christopher Ward fans. I can't stand the newer Christopher Ward logos on the side there. It's just so bland. Sorry, it stops me buying Christopher Ward watches. I would have bought a lot more by now otherwise. So, okay, let's, in fact, I've been leaving this running, so it should pick up now. I should have stopped that in between. So there we are, plus 1 second. It is still plus 1 second. Maybe it's settling, plus 1, minus 3. But look at that amplitude, 316 degrees. Normal range would be 285 to 315. 0.2 milliseconds, which isn't bad because I've used this on a lot of vacations. I use this for work frequently. I wear a GMT for work most of the time. Because customers are in different time zones and I'm working with a lot of people. So we got like a minus 1 second a day, minus 3, minus 1, minus 1. So it's roughly, now it's minus 1 second a day. I think it was plus 1 when I first got it. So it's changed a little bit, but on the whole, it's still within like a cost range, top grade range, excellent. And you can see an equivalent beat error. But the thing I'm trying to point out is the amplitude here. Okay, it's not an SW300, it's an ETA, but that's the kind of amplitude I would expect to see on a watch, 312 here. So I would expect 285 to 315 to be normal. These are new watches. I do believe, I suspect there's an issue with amplitude that makes me a little bit worried about that. So before I send these on to customers, I'm going to have to research that quite heavily and talk to a couple of watchsmiths. And if everything's okay, these will be going out to our customers. That's it for me. Thanks a lot. Take care.